I think a lot of people compare themselves to others, especially with social media. It's easy to see someone's photo of somewhere that you visited and suddenly think yours wasn't as good. But that's what I enjoy sharing with people when I'm teaching them, is having your own vision and composition focus and just seeking out those creative aspects that you can find within a scene that may not be obvious to everybody that takes a quick shot and moves on. But the comparison factor is something that I know a lot of people struggle with, and just taking the time to kind of assess and challenge yourself to think outside the box, it definitely helps people kind of explore new ways of photographing and helps with motivation as well, I think, too.
Welcome to the She Clicks Women in Photography podcast. I'm Angela Nicholson, and I'm the founder of She Clicks, which is a community for female photographers. In these podcasts, I talk with women in the photographic industry to hear about their experiences, what drives them, and how they got to where they are now. This episode is with Lisa Michele Burns, an OM System Ambassador, travel photographer, and editor of The Wandering Lens. Lisa loves to photograph the patterns and tones within landscapes, focusing on regions of environmental significance. She also explores aerial photography, luxury resorts, and remote wilderness lodges. Hi Lisa, thank you so much for joining me today on the She Clicks Women in Photography podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really exciting to chat.
It's really nice actually, because we managed to time this so you're actually in the UK, so we're not trying to coordinate UK and Australian time zones, because I get so confused by those.
Yeah, it can be a little bit of a nightmare as well. It's either morning for you or night for me, or it's just, yeah.
Yeah.
Much better to be in the same country.
I think so. Much easier for us. So what came first for you? Was it travel or was it photography, or did they always go hand in hand?
Actually, travel. Photography kind of just came along in a funny, coincidental way, really. I was just hoping to write guidebooks. I wanted to be a journalist and just write, really. And then I ended up in Morocco with Lonely Planet and was taking some photos to go alongside with the writing, and they kind of preferred those to my words. So photography came after that. So it was quite fun to, I think, come from that angle without the, not pressure necessarily, but yeah, just kind of went into it without any preconceived ideas or anything, and it just flowed naturally. So it's a funny little path.
It's quite nice as well to sort of someone say, oh, you're good at this, when you kind of were just doing it as a little backup thing. And then you said, oh, okay, so I can explore that a bit more.
Yeah, it was funny because I didn't really know what I was doing necessarily. I was just taking, I had a camera that the person at the camera store said was good for travel. I had a little polarizer screwed on very wrongly, so all of my photos had this dark tinge in the corner, which I just thought was how it was supposed to look. I really didn't know what I was doing. So yeah, it was kind of fun to explore and experiment as I went and tried to, eventually the polarizer fell off, so I knew that wasn't supposed to be there. So
And what is it that you love about travel and travel photography?
I think it's kind of changed over the years. Initially, I just wanted to see lots of different cultures. And I think coming from Australia, it's kind of built into us that we want to get really far away and see the rest of the world. So I think the culture thing came first and trying to explore different areas. And then I just kind of fell in love with, flying and arriving in new places and photographing it, seeing it through the lens, I think is really special. It just kind of helps you slow down and see those different details that are hidden within scenes and landscapes. So I think over the years I've kind of changed from exploring cities and cultures, and just now I'm looking for isolated landscapes far, far from people. So it's kind of progressed.
And have you at any point done any formal training in photography, or are you entirely self-taught?
No, entirely self-taught, which usually pops up every so often when somebody has a disagreement as to how you should shoot a certain thing. But I have my own little quirks and techniques that I like to play with, which may not necessarily be textbook, but I think it's, helps with the creative process to kind of find your own way through the buttons and things.
Absolutely. I'm not sure there's ever a right way to do something like photography, because it's actually about creating your vision. So do it your way.
Yeah, definitely. Especially any creative art, I think, needs to be explored in your own time and at your own pace. So,
from my perception, it seems that photography has taken over a lot of your work now. Is that how you see it as well?
Yeah, I still do write a lot. I've got The Wandering Lens, which I started in 2016, I think it was. I started publishing, and that was kind of in an effort to blend the writing and photography together. So, yeah, I really enjoy writing still and publishing the guides and sharing little stories. I think I'd like to go down the narrative side a little bit more than the technical and informative side. But yeah, I still like even just writing captions and things to go with photos is always fun for me. But definitely photos comes first now.
How did you find your first clients as a photographer?
Oh, that's a tricky one. I've kind of, to kind of set the scene, I've gone through different genres as my career's progressed. So I've been working professionally for about 18 years. And my first job as a photographer was at a rural newspaper that I worked at. But then that changed to a tourism resort that did we did dolphin feeding and sand dune tobogganing. So that was my first official job. But it was in 2007 that I won a contest with Lonely Planet to be a writer for them, which then helped the rest come together. But yeah, it was through Lonely Planet that I then started working freelance for different clients. And the funny thing is I didn't really know how to pitch or how to find clients. So I actually used to send them little postcards in the mail with a link to my website and a photo on the front and just hope that they'd get in touch one day.
And did they?
Yeah. Some of them, especially because I just kind of ended up in Dublin because I could get a working visa at the time. I was only 20, I think it was. And I just used to send postcards to magazine editors and a few got in touch and that kind of led to more ongoing work. So yeah, that was before, social media and things like that. Probably a bit easier to send postcards then.
I really like that approach, but has social media taken over or do you still sometimes send postcards?
I definitely don't send postcards anymore, but I think it'd be nice, actually. I think people might be going back in that direction, hopefully. But social media has definitely taken over a little bit, but I'm quite a shy person, so I don't really love getting my face on social media and approaching that way. Mm-hmm. I think I still prefer either approaching by email with a PDF portfolio where you can kind of piece everything together nicely that you want to share with them, or just, links to websites. I think, for me anyway, is a bit more easier to approach people than social media.
So you're more inclined to send an email?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, you won't find me in a networking event just running the room. I'm in the corner hiding.
Right.
Yeah.
And part of your business is photographing hotels and lodges. Did that come about organically, or was it something you definitely pursued?
I think I definitely pursued it. After I did a lot of freelance work in Ireland and the UK, I moved back to Australia and took over a landscape gallery. It was kind of like a little old print lab and gallery on an island, and that was within a resort. So I stayed there for about 5 years, and in that time got to see how, lodges and hotels run behind the scenes, work with their marketing department. And so I learned a lot of skills there that helped me kind of pursue hotels and lodges from then on. And I was very desperate after 5 years on the one little island to go to many more places after that. So the travel bug kicked in again and I wanted to photograph every hotel. So again, I got back to the pitching and getting in touch directly to say that, I wanted to photograph their hotels.
Actually, it's interesting that you say that because I wanted to ask you about how do you balance your desire to travel with the need to go to specific places because that's where your clients want you to go?
Usually I kind of approach them before traveling somewhere. I kind of have, places that I piece together like a nice little plan for myself and then try and approach the right people that align with either the projects I'm doing at the time or just places that I want to photograph. But sometimes people do come to me and then usually they're attracted to what I already photographed. So it usually aligns with somewhere I want to go anyway. So far it's worked out quite well.
Good.
Yeah.
How much time do you spend researching a place before you go for the first time?
Oh, probably a lot. I love Google Maps and Google Earth and just kind of scouring coastlines and looking at different vantage points that might be possible. I try and avoid just viewpoints that every other tour bus arrives to. So I definitely like to do a lot of research about where I could go that might be slightly different angle or different hiking trail or something that's not exactly the most popular one. But yeah, in terms of hotels and looking around and things like that, I have a bit of a little fascination with finding the best hotel close to certain locations. So especially for like shooting sunrise, I don't have to walk too far because I am not a morning person.
I can identify with that.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a bit of a running theme in our podcasts.
Is that?
Yeah. We're talking to people and saying, do you prefer sunrise or sunset? And most people seem to say they like photographing sunrise. They just don't like getting up for it.
Exactly. Yeah. And anyone that says they do might be lying a little bit. I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Or the coffee hits a little bit harder, maybe.
I mean, I get the magic, but when you're researching, then, you're looking for places which are a bit more interesting, find different angles and places that haven't been photographed. So you're kind of trying to fill in some gaps, I guess.
Yeah, I think, I mean, for me personally, when I look at social media and I see the same photo that's been taken a bunch of times in the same place, it really makes me want to go somewhere else. So it's that I'm kind of looking for, because even just to take a photo, if there's a lot of people and noise around, I just don't feel creative or inspired to stand there and capture the shot. So for me, I need it to be really quiet and to kind of assess the scene and be immersed in it before I'll start taking photos. So that's another reason why I probably tend to do a bit more research as to where I could go before I get there.
But does that mean you are closing the door a bit for yourself? Because like you find a nice hotel near somewhere you think is going to be an interesting shooting point. You take the photographs, they go out, and then suddenly lots of other people want to go there, and so you see a lot more photos. So therefore you don't want to go back.
Yeah, I mean, lately, like the last few years in particular, I've been working with more remote lodges, so it's really difficult to either get there or there's very limited accommodation in those areas. So I'm hoping, I cross my fingers that it stays that way, because a lot of the places I've visited lately have been so beautifully remote and quiet. So hopefully they do stay that way.
Please excuse this interruption. This episode is supported by OM System, empowering consumers and professionals alike with innovative digital cameras, lenses, audio recorders and binoculars. OM System's precision optics and groundbreaking technology open up new possibilities for capturing life's most precious moments. Okay, let's get back to the show. And where does the wandering lens fit into your story? I mean, you were travelling around, writing, taking photographs. How do you sort of fit that into what you do? And maybe you could just tell people a bit more about it.
Yeah, so the Wandering Lens did start when I left Ireland, moving over to France, and just wanted to kind of have a platform where I could publish, like get back to the writing side of things, publish guides, and just have adventures and really share the visuals behind it without being constricted to what publications might want. So just kind of have a little online space for travel adventures. And it kind of grew quite quickly from the first article that I published to now, and it's kind of taken a different direction. I was just going to share stories really, but now I think the photography guides, like specifying the locations that people can go and what they can photograph and experience, has been the main focus for the website. And now in the last, what's it been now, 4 years, it's kind of turned to creative development as well. So it shares essentially photography guides and then photography tips with a bit of career advice on the side. So it's a nice kind of mix of where the business is at the moment and where I'm at. So I kind of publish a little bit for the audience, a little bit for what I'm interested in, and then for the clients as well. So it's a nice mix. It's working quite well so far. But yeah, there's always things to, roller coaster and Google Analytics updates and AI and all those things to contend with. So it's a learning curve always.
And with your guides, your courses, your ebooks, and you also offer portfolio reviews, were you being asked to do those, or was it purely, your desire to write and then people, they were well received?
Yeah, I mean, I was actually running photo tours in Iceland and Japan up until 2020. And so a lot of people still wanted to learn. Like most people were coming with me in person in the field to learn. And so I kind of transitioned towards the online space, and it kind of developed quite naturally. Like I had the location ebooks already online just because I like writing. But the courses and things developed as a way of still connecting with people and teaching, but online when we're all a little bit stuck. So the first course group was actually really good because there was, I think, about 45 or 50 people, and they helped kind of develop the next two courses, because what they wanted to know at the end of the first one helped me produce the programs for the next two. So it's been really nice to work with a whole group of students that have progressed through the different courses, and yeah, it's just kind of unfolding naturally with what the community are after.
So have you got any more in the pipeline?
Well, at the moment I'm doing group mentoring. So I've kind of gone back a little bit. So they're smaller groups. The courses kind of run themselves, like people can join up at any time. They're all online. You kind of sign into a little portal and it's a little realm of information and challenges and creative goodies. So I see the students pop up and I still get in touch once they sign up, and I'm always there in the background for support. But the group mentoring program is going to start next month, which is fun. I've already done one session earlier this year. So yeah, it's going to be, I think, 12 people max. Just a nice little supportive 3-month program to help people take the next step in their careers and things. So
well, that's really interesting. Mentoring is quite a tricky thing, isn't it? Because I think people have different requirements and different perceptions of what mentoring is. So some people think it's training, but it's not, is it? It's a bit quite different.
Well, yeah, it's kind of funny. I've never really been mentored or, like I said before, never really studied photography. So I kind of look at it as being a supportive person that's already worked through the industry and kind of help people take that next step whilst listening to what that step is, rather than just, saying my own ideas and trying to bring my own experience to theirs. I want them to forge their own path, but then I can help them discover even just understanding who their audience or their potential clients might be. A lot of people are surprised once they share their work with me. When I share who I think they could work for or could approach, they're actually surprised that that's the genre they think. I think we all get stuck in our own work, we think we're not good enough for this or we can't do that. But then once you sit down and look at it, you actually are good enough to approach people. It's just about how to package it and how to approach the right person.
Yeah, that must be really rewarding.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Yeah, it's really rewarding to see, especially because there's such diverse talent out there and people going in different directions that I was even surprised by at the start of the mentoring program. So yeah, it's really fun to work with them and especially from all different corners of the world. So that's always nice.
Yeah, that is the great thing, isn't it? I mean, as a travel photographer, obviously you want to be hearing from people all over the world. But now, because we're so connected through the internet, you can have students or mentees from anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think the only tricky part is with this program, I've decided to do like a live video chat once a month. And I think the first one that we did, I thought the time was perfect. And then I forgot that obviously as travel photographers, everybody would be traveling. So I was basing the time on where they signed up from.
Right.
And then we had people in South America and Asia, and the time was just way off for some people. So we've kind of smoothed that out now. There's a good time that fits the whole world. But yeah.
Good. Well, let me know what time that is, because I'd love to know.
Yeah. Well, some people are still up very early, but yeah.
Right. Okay. Now, you're an OM System ambassador, formerly Olympus, but now OM System. How did that come about?
Yeah, that was in 2017. I'd previously been using, I did weddings for 5 years before that when I was on the island. And my back was really, really sore from lugging two bodies around shooting weddings. And so I kind of approached them and wanted to trial their equipment because I was living in Europe at the time and had a trip to Iceland coming up. So the weather sealing really appealed to me and just how light they were. So I approached them and they gave me a little trial kit and I kind of fell for the lightweight body and the system. So the kind of like the relationship between me and the brand just kind of progressed from there. So it's been wonderful to work with them and I feel like family now a little bit because it's been so many years. I think we're up to 7 years now. So yeah, it's been really nice.
Wow. Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's probably a really good time to go to 6 from She Clicks. I've got 10 questions from She Clickers. I would like you to answer 6 of them, please, by picking numbers from 1 to 10. So,
oh, okay.
If you'd like to pick your first number.
I'm an even number girl, so we're going to start with 2.
Okay, right. So this is quite a tough one to kick off with.
Oh, gosh.
How do you justify and compensate for your carbon footprint? That's from Marianne. I think she's particularly thinking because, you do quite a bit of travelling and you are quite conscious of the fragility of the earth.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the destinations that I do photograph have that environmental significance. I'm always very wary of the footprint that I have, especially within traveling. I think in the planning stages, I do try and limit like the transport routes that I'm taking. And I always click that little button when you're booking flights that says, offset your carbon footprint. But yeah, it's tricky because with travel, you still need to get from A to B. And from Australia as well, there's some big oceans either side. So it's quite hard to navigate that one. But yeah, when I'm at home, I try and just do everything that I can do. But yeah, traveling, unfortunately, there's ways to get around it. But yeah, you just have to work at minimizing it.
Yeah. And to an extent, you are putting your faith in a third party that they are doing what they say they're going to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I like to think that my photography has a way of coming back around and giving back. Like a lot of photos that I produce go towards charitable initiatives that then help the environment in other ways. So yeah, I'm working on something with an elephant orphanage at the moment in South Africa, which is very exciting.
Oh, lovely.
So yeah, there's little projects here and there. So
fantastic. My Instagram account is pretty much spammed by baby elephant videos and I'm a complete sucker for them. So I imagine it'd be amazing.
Oh, but isn't that great?
Yes, they are so cute.
Yeah. Yeah, especially their big ears and the floppy little tails and bottoms. So cute.
And the fact that they can't seem to control their trunks either, which, they
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah,
suddenly discover they've got this thing on the end of their face and they don't know what it's for.
exactly. It's all just everywhere.
Must be fantastic to work with them.
Yeah, wildlife in general, I just find fascinating, just observing them and then, waiting for that right moment. But yeah, elephants are just such stunning creatures. And I think it's an orphanage in South Africa that kind of brought together orphaned elephants to form one herd. And it's incredible to see how they've all kind of come together. And there's a few babies in there as well. So it's very adorable.
Oh, that's lovely. So could I have your second number then, please?
Oh, okay. Let's just go up the chain. 4.
Okay. What are your tips for staying warm in cold climates? Several people asked that question.
Okay, definitely layering. I'm from Australia, I've grown up by the beach, but a lot of my work over the last few years has been focused in Arctic environments. And I do still get quite cold, especially when you're out for hours photographing, but definitely layer up from your base layer all the way to the outside. So you want to start with really good thermal layers and then cover that with a fleece layer and a windproof layer and then your outer shell as well. So I think once you've got the thermals down and the really nice socks and gloves and everything, you can usually then pile on the rest and hope for the best.
I think a lot of people struggle with keeping their fingers warm because it's getting that contact on your camera. Have you got any kind of recommendations for gloves or mittens or anything?
For me, the gloves are the hardest part because my fingertips just get frozen so quickly. I just came back from Greenland last week, actually, and it's the end of their summer, so I didn't think it would be as cold as it was. And I just took kind of standard woolen gloves. I survived, but it was still pretty chilly. I think I told this story before. I think it was on the website, but I photographed with the drone in Greenland and it was minus 31, I think it was, or 24. I can't remember what it was, but the drone control wouldn't work with gloves. And so I had my bare hands out at that temperature and it was all fine to lift off, but then I forgot that I had to land and obviously take the photos. And by that stage, my thumbs and just everything had seized up and I couldn't get the drone back.
Oh no.
Because they were just so cold. But yeah, I think if anybody has any recommendations for great gloves, get in touch.
Okay. What about your camera? I mean, how do you keep the batteries warm? Any tips for protecting your camera in such cold climates?
Yeah, I mean, the cameras I use are weather sealed, so they handle really well. They do better than I do in the cold. And the battery life, I find, doesn't falter too much or too differently from standard temperatures. But when I do travel, I have little heat packs, those, the reusable heat packs that you can have.
Yeah.
And I have them in my camera bag, or I'll have a battery in the pocket, like the inner layers of my pockets, just to keep them warm, just in case. But yeah, I've been up in Greenland in winter and really haven't seen any issues with the batteries, but there's some ways that you can keep them nice and toasty. As long as they're warm, then you should be okay.
Yeah. Okay, so your third number then, are you going to go for 6?
No, let's go 8. Let's just jump up to 8.
Okay, right. How much time do you spend on the road travelling? I guess in a year, your average year.
Yeah, it kind of differs per year, and a lot of jobs pop up last minute, or I'm a very last minute traveller. Like if suddenly I see the autumn foliage is going crazy in Japan, I'll try and get there. But yeah, the last year, or this year in particular, has been quite busy. I was over in Patagonia in April and then South Africa at the end of April and then up to Greenland and now the UK and then Japan later this year. So it really depends. Probably, I'd say 6 months is an average being on the road. And the 2 years prior to this year, actually, I was travelling around Australia. So that was a bit more slow travel, which was nice, but definitely always on the road.
Did that feel the same? Travelling in your own country compared to being abroad, did you feel different about it?
It was funny, actually, because, it became about because of a book project. The book's coming out later this year, and I was initially hoping to publish a book on my Arctic work, but then the publisher was keen on Australia. And I'd seen bits and pieces of Australia and lived all along the East Coast, but hadn't seen the centre or, the deep south and things like that. So, yeah, it was really nice to explore it and a little bit scary, actually. I didn't realise how big Australia was. Like I knew it was big.
Right.
But we drove around and I think it was when I hit near Cooper PD, and it was just hours and hours of just nothingness. I started to realize that I can't change a tire, probably can't survive if anything happened. A few little survival instincts came into play and I went, oh gosh.
It's funny because, I mean, coming from the UK, which is, as you know, pretty small, we're always sort of told how huge Australia is. And then you kind of, you turn the globe around and you think, oh, yeah, that's quite a bit bigger than the UK.
Yeah. Yeah, it really didn't hit until I got halfway across and then I realised I had the other half to do.
It's a long way.
The east, for some reason, north to south feels okay, but then east to west, just no.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it is wider, isn't it, I think?
Yeah, but it's populated, I think, along the east coast, so you don't really notice it too much. But once you're, just hours and hours of desert, it's fascinating and gorgeous. But yeah, there's a whole lot of nothing out there.
Very, very remote.
Yes.
Okay, can I have your fourth number, please?
Let's go back to 6.
What is the biggest mistake you see people making in travel photography? That question's from Liz.
I think that's a really good question, actually, because I think a lot of people compare themselves to others, especially with social media. It's easy to see someone's photo of somewhere that you visited and suddenly think yours wasn't as good. But that's what I enjoy sharing with people when I'm teaching them, is having your own vision and composition focus and just seeking out those creative aspects that you can find within a scene that may not be obvious to everybody that takes a quick shot and moves on. But the comparison factor is something that I know a lot of people struggle with, and just taking the time to kind of assess and challenge yourself to think outside the box, it definitely helps people kind of explore new ways of photographing and helps with motivation as well, I think, too.
Yeah, I think when you see that, your older images and you think, oh, crikey, I've come a long way, that's much healthier than looking at somebody else's.
Oh, yes.
And thinking, oh, theirs is better. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think.
It's just different.
Yeah. Yeah, we all change and progress as we learn more things and new techniques. So, yeah, it's important not to be too hard on yourself and just keep getting creative.
Okay. Can I have your fifth number, please?
Let's do 10.
Okay, this is from Philippa. Do you have any advice for getting published or getting noticed as a photographer?
Yeah, my number one tip would be to get a website and have your own space that you can control and showcase your work on. But in addition to that, curating a gallery that ensures that somebody that's looking at your work for the first time without having any idea about what you photograph, where you photograph, or how, completely understands how they could work with you or why they would want to publish your work. I think that's what a lot of people sometimes miss. Like we all want to just put everything out there and share everything that we've ever taken, but curating and putting together something that somebody who's never seen your work would understand immediately what you do. I think that's very important. And then second to that is approaching the right people and not just writing to those, info at travelmagazine.com email addresses. Kind of networking and finding a path in that way is really important. But definitely first curating a gallery and having an online space.
You said that you don't like to put yourself out there on social media that much, but are you the sort of person, do you follow certain people or, certain businesses and comment and just try and get a rapport going that way?
Yeah, I definitely follow a lot of people just to stay in the loop. I think it's more the on-camera stuff that I struggle with. And, I like the landscape and the travels to do their own story rather than me saying what I ate today or, where I am.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But yeah, I do think it's important to stay in the loop and know kind of who's publishing what sort of work as well. Approaching a magazine that doesn't publish anything similar to your work is probably a bit of a waste of time, whereas there's so many specialty publications, both online and in print out there, that it's worth kind of researching and seeing which ones might suit the style and destinations that you're focusing on.
Okay. Right. So your last question then, please.
Let's go 5.
Number 5, do you have a favourite bag or backpack for your camera gear when travelling? Again, that was asked by several people.
Yeah, I do actually. And it's been with me for about 10 years and I'm really worried that the zips are going to break.
Wow. That's good going.
Yeah. I know. I was researching it before this trip to Greenland, actually trying to look for a new one. But I just can't find anything that I like as much. I've just got a low pro, I think it's an AW 400.
Okay.
But they don't make that model anymore as far as I know, or they do, but they slightly changed the back section. So yeah, I'm looking for a replacement, but only because I think this is well worn and has been on a lot of adventures.
Yeah.
But I think just anything that has good back support if you're going hiking is really important. I love the clip around the waist just to take that weight off, because I stuff mine with so many things.
Yeah. I think thinking back, if you had your bag so long, I mean, a lot of them have changed now to rear opening. So like they keep your stuff a bit safer as well. I think there's a lot more consideration.
Yeah. Oh, that's what this one has. Yeah. There's there's definitely a lot of bag designs out there that I'm keen on trialing. But yeah, I just haven't clicked the purchase button yet.
It is worth getting to a shop, isn't it? Or a trade show and trying them on just to get the right, be sure you've got the right size for you, I think, and the right fit.
Yeah. I think it's such a personal choice as well. You really want it to feel good and have the, pockets in the right areas and things. So yeah, this works for me, and I'm a bit of a creature of habit. So
Lisa, thank you so much for answering those questions and for joining me today on the She Clicks Women in Photography podcast.
It was lovely. Thank you so much for having me. Such a great community. I've just joined the Facebook group, so it's really exciting to see everybody's work on there. It looks great.
Oh, thank you very much. Thanks for listening to this episode of the She Clicks Women in Photography podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Special thanks to everybody who sent in a question. You'll find links to Lisa's website and social media channels in the show notes. I'll be back with another episode soon, so please subscribe to the show on your favourite podcast platform and tell all your friends and followers about it. You'll also find She Clicks on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and YouTube if you search for She Clicks Net. So until next time, enjoy your photography.